Hello, everybody. What I want to talk to you about today is the idea of teaching personal finance as part of business education. Now, many people confuse the two. When you use the word finance, people's minds automatically go to business, but personal finance is unique unto itself. Now, I will say this. Business courses generally incorporate a great deal of personal finance, and many of the principles that you focus on in different business courses, such as accounting, such as corporate finance, use these exact same principles that you apply in personal finance. But generally, personal finance is more about simply managing income coming in and managing expenses or cost going out. And the same thing applies to business. So it's a natural tendency for us to see this content as one and the same, but largely it's different. Now, many people will argue that personal finance is something that we should introduce earlier in the educational path, that is, in middle school and high school, so that individuals come out of school understanding these principles. Now, people who argue against this say that personal finance is something that can be learned anywhere and should largely be taught in the family environment where someone grows up, that if anything, personal finance should be an elective that someone could pursue, and that counselors should encourage students in high school, in middle school, to pursue these courses so that they learn about that, particularly when they don't have access to learn about these things at home, but that the academic institution is reserved for things that you absolutely would not learn at home, that is, mathematics, sciences, things of that nature, that have to be unique to the academic institution where you're going to learn it, and to displace any of those things with things that should be learned as common skills, that it would be inappropriate to substitute these more common skill things in for those things that are inherent in the academic institution curricula. So my question is this: how could we integrate personal finance into not just business courses, but perhaps any course that has some relevant nature to what the subject matter of personal finance is? Once again, managing your assets, managing income, managing expenses, so that you can adequately plan your life, because we all know that financial security is an important aspect of being able to undertake the activities that you want or desire. Personal finance incorporates an element of personal savings, which all of a sudden gets into a realm of business. That is the idea of investing, holding assets that can earn you money, whether that's fixed assets like land, whether it's alternative assets like perhaps a fancy painting or something of that nature, or whether it's your traditional assets like stocks or bonds, or investing in some other mutual fund or index or conglomeration of other assets that collectively learn value and make a return on investment. So that's where the personal finance area starts to cross over into an area of business finance, and particularly for individuals who want to take part in that financial planning process or want to be analysts or some other type of professional involved in the active trade of wealth management, investment and trading, etc. But of course, not everyone wants to be involved in that field. So you wouldn't take that upper level business finance course if you were someone who were simply pursuing financial stability by saving money and investing it, but you still had the desire to learn about how investment works, how you should evaluate the investment of your money in one thing versus another, so that you can start making good decisions. That is, not wasting your money on a depreciable asset that brings no value or very little value in return, versus putting your money in something that can actually return value on top of itself and actually not lose value over time. So here's a couple of questions for you to consider, and I would like your comment on these if you have an opinion. That is, to what extent can we integrate personal finance subject matter and curricula within each level of school, middle school, high school, and higher education, even if you don't study things such as business or finance? 2, should these courses be required? And if they are required, then what do you displace in terms of the curricula that exists in these academic institutions now? That is, what are you going to take the place of with these personal finance courses? 3, if you don't believe that these courses should be integrated into traditional educational institutions, how can we as a society, private companies, the government, that's both state, federal, local level, how can they work together to make certain that individuals do have exposure to principles of personal finance and responsibility, such that individuals aren't prejudiced by not having that type of education, exposure, learning in the household. That is, to make sure everyone has exposure to these very important principles in a way that happens or takes place outside of the traditional academic institution. So if you have an opinion on this, please jump down in the comments below, go over to thebusinessprofessor.com, start a discussion. But regardless, I hope to see you around the platform sometime soon. Until then, take care.